It's Jessica with Southern Sparrow, and today let's talk about jokers. You guys ask me a lot about joker do's and joker don'ts, and you also ask about what it means once you've exposed a joker and how joker exchanges work. So let's get into all of that. We're going to talk joker do's and joker don'ts, but first let's talk about what a joker actually is. A joker is a wild tile that may be used in your hand when you win in any grouping of 3 or more like tiles. What does like tiles mean? Like tiles means identical tiles, meaning a section of your hand calls for a grouping of 3 or more of the same tile. So when you see D, 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 and it's all one suit and they're smushed together, that's a grouping of 3 dragons. You may use a joker in that grouping. When you see a hand on your card that calls for F, 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 that's a grouping of 4 tiles. Now, I get a lot of questions about using jokers with flowers, so I have them shown here. A flower, even though the tiles look different, a flower is a flower is a flower. They're all in American Mahjong the same tile, even if the design on the flower tiles is different. They are all Fs on the card. They go together. So when you have a grouping of 3 or more flowers, you may use a joker. Here we have our little Kong. A Kong is a group of 4 identical tiles, a Kong of flowers, and you may use a joker in that grouping. Okay. You may also use a joker in a quint. A quint is a grouping of 5 identical tiles. So here we have our quint of 2 dots, and we've used our joker there. Now, the next question that I get is, well, can I win if I only have jokers for a grouping? If your grouping is 3 or more identical tiles in your hand, you may use all jokers. You do not have to have a single representative tile to be able to win Mahjong. You can use all jokers for a grouping of 3 or more identical tiles. So let's say that we needed to make this quint. Our hand calls for a quint of 2 dots. We don't have any of them. We can make that quint like this, all jokers. Okay, what can't we do with jokers? Let's talk about that for a second. You can't use a joker for a single. You can't use a joker for a pair. You can't use a joker in news. Why? They're smushed together. They're all wins. It looks like a grouping of 4 tiles. Why can't I use a joker there? Well, they're not identical tiles. It's a single of each wind. And because even though they're smushed together, it's a group of singles. So because it's a group of singles, not identical tiles, you cannot use a joker there. Now, if we were looking for a grouping of a single wind, all identical, yes, you could use a joker for wins if it's identical tiles in the grouping. 3 or more identical tiles, that's legal. But if we're calling for news specifically as a grouping, north, east, west, and south, that's a no for jokers. You may not use a joker there. You must have the west to make this grouping naturally. Okay, similarly, you may not use a joker in a run. On the 2025 hand, we have this run in consecutive. I would anticipate that on the 2026 hand or 2026 card, we're going to see more runs like this. I think the league is starting to kind of hear that feedback from people that they want more runs like this. So I would anticipate we're going to have more hands that have that. And you should know you cannot use a joker in that run. Again, it is a grouping of singles. They are not identical tiles. Now, here's a question that I get asked a lot. What if it's my last tile to Mahjong? Can't I use a joker for a single or a pair or a group of singles? If it's my last tile for Mahjong, I'm going to win. The answer is no. I think there's some confusion around, yes, you can call a discarded tile. Let's say that I needed a single 9 bam to make my hand. I could call that discarded tile if it's my last tile for Mahjong, but I cannot use a joker just because it's my last tile for Mahjong. Jokers always must be used in groupings of 3 or more identical tiles. Never as a single, a pair, or in a group of singles. Okay, let's get rid of our no jokers rack there and just talk about our yes jokers. Okay, So yes, we can use jokers in all of these ways. Let's see. What if I have exposed with a joker? So I've exposed this grouping of green dragons with my joker. Well, that means that now my joker is available for joker swaps or joker exchanges. And the way that that works is on your turn, any player at the table may do a joker swap once their turn has begun before they end their turn. So it must be done on your turn. So you must start your turn first by either drawing from the wall and racking that tile, or by calling a tile for exposure and finishing the exposure. You have to be done with the exposure before you start the joker swap. And then you can do the joker swap. So the way a joker swap works is if I have this here on my rack, and let's say that this hand is coming from another player, she would say, she's drawn her tile and racked it, and she would say, may I have your joker, please? And I would then give her my joker and take her green dragon that she gave me, and she would take the joker and rack it in her rack, and I would expose with the dragons. Couple questions that I've seen. If she asks to swap my joker, she says, may I please have your joker? Can I say no? The answer is no. It is courteous, it is nice manners to hand someone the tile and say, may I please have your joker? But the player with the exposed joker may not refuse that joker swap. Even if you have plans for that joker, you have to give it up. So if you have a joker and someone offers to swap it, you have to give that joker up. Now, a couple more things. If you swap a joker, do you have to use it on that turn? No. If you swap your joker, it goes into the sloped part of your rack, and you can use it at your discretion at any time in the game. Additionally, if I have an exposed joker and I on my next turn draw that green dragon, I can make my own joker swap and take my joker back into the sloped part of my rack. My rack's turned around so you guys can see, but this would then be facing me and I could use it at my own discretion. So that's our jokers do's and don'ts, and what happens if you've exposed a joker, and how joker exchanges work. I hope that's helpful. Drop me any comments or questions down below, and happy Mahjong, y'all.